What do you think looking back at the nation's founding tells you about where we are and where we're going as a country?
Well, there's always been divisions. They've been there from the very beginning. And the great concern was, what was the direction of the country going to go? Are we going to stay British? Are we going to put up with this stuff? Are we going to start a new country? What kind of new country is it going to be? Who we're going to include? Particularly at this time, we've been working on this for nearly a decade. We had no idea it would coincide with celebrations about the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration. We're excited by the possibility that by understanding a part of our history, a history that's sort of atrophied in not only our schools but in our general collective consciousness, by reminding people that we have a shared history, that we get to reinvigorate the ideals that prompted the founding of the country.
As you know, at the time of the signing of the Declaration, America was part of this intricate transnational web of societies and religion and economies, and the trade of enslaved people as well. It also coincided then with this wave of revolutions around the network. As you look at the history of the time, how does the American Revolution compare to these other revolutions, such as in Haiti or in France? And how is it unique?
This is the most consequential revolution in the history of the world. It is the first of them. It's the first to proclaim the unalienable rights of all people. It is the inspiration for most of the other revolutions that will take place within this very complex geopolitical chessboard that involves many empires: British, Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, and we come out of it taking what are at first complaints about not enjoying the rights of British citizens in England and sort of break them out into, as the historian Christopher Brown says in our film, natural rights. And if they're natural rights and it's the Enlightenment, all of a sudden you're talking about self-evident truths. And they apply to the French people as well as to the Haitian people, as well as to people in India and all around the world. But it started here.
I think about this letter a lot from Thomas Jefferson to John Adams. I believe it's in 1815, and he's responding to a question about who shall write the history of the American Revolution, who can write it, and Jefferson responds, nobody, but that doesn't stop historians from trying. So I'm curious how you all take that and how you go about trying to do so.
The person closest to you has an aspect that is inscrutable and unknowable, even with all the proximity and all of the time spent together. So in a way, all history, all biography is failure, because you can't possibly understand, let alone represent, all that took place. But we're sort of obligated, just as all of us are mortal, and you could take that depressing news and sit sucking your thumb in a fetal position on the floor, or you could go out and raise babies or tend gardens or make documentary films. So you've got to face the fact that it is, as Jefferson understood, an impossible task, but you have to do it. And for us, we would never use the word comprehensive. We would just say that we've spent a decade doing the best we possibly can to communicate this thing that was the invention of John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and a lot of other people. To respect not only their visions, but the visions of the ordinary people who actually did the fighting and the dying, and the people who suffered, the loyalists who remained loyal, the native populations, but within the societies and on the edges of the societies, the free and enslaved and escaped black populations, women whose rights were not considered at the time of the Constitution, and tell a very complex story that has at its heart the military history that no one ever tells.
There's a notion in academia that you always bring a certain lens to your research, and there's no one lens to look at history that's without criticism. But I'm curious what you say to people that maybe criticize your approach or say that you take a sentimentalist tone, and what tone should we expect out of this series?
Certainly not sentimental, and we've never taken a sentimental tone. Sentiment and nostalgia are the enemy of good anything. But we do believe in emotion. We do believe in higher emotion and feelings. This is what animates our lives, and it's easy to Monday morning quarterback. There are lots of different perspectives of history, and we try to take as many as possible so that we can sort of not average them out, but remind people that there's no theory of history. There's no one perspective of history. There are multiple perspectives, and the best kinds of history are those multiple perspectives. And so if you have feeling from this and you're afraid of those feelings, it might be important to call it sentimental or nostalgic, but we not only reject that, but don't do that and don't recognize nostalgia or sentimentality as any viable form of communication.